Yes, Lord, and if the king isn't in Uhtred, then he requests that you join him in Lincoln.
That made sense. If the West Saxons wanted to capture Uhtred, Sigtryggr's capital city, then they would advance north up the Roman road and would need to storm the high walls of Lincoln before they could approach Uhtred. But what did not make sense was why there was war at all. It made no sense, because there was a treaty of peace between the Saxons and the Danes. Sigtryggr, my son-in-law and king of Uhtred and of Northumbria, had made the treaty with Aethelflaed of Mercia, and he had surrendered land and burhs as the price for that peace. Some men despised him for that, but Northumbria was a weak kingdom, and the Saxon realms of Mercia and Wessex were strong. Sigtryggr needed time, men, and money if he was to withstand the Saxon onslaught he knew was coming. It was coming, because King Alfred's dream was turning into reality. I am old enough to remember a time when the Danes ruled almost all of what is now England. They captured Northumbria, took East Anglia, and occupied all of Mercia. Guthrum the Dane had then invaded Wessex, driving Alfred and a handful of men into the marshes of Somerset. But Alfred had won the unlikely victory at Ithanden, and ever since the Saxons had inexorably worked their way northwards. The old kingdom of Mercia was in Saxon hands now, and Edward of Wessex, Alfred's son and the brother of Aethelflaed of Mercia, had reconquered East Anglia. Alfred's dream, his passion, had been to unite all the lands where the Saxon tongue was spoken, and of those lands, only Northumbria was left. There might be a peace treaty between Northumbria and Mercia, but we all knew the Saxon onslaught would come. Rorik, the Norse boy whose father I had killed, had been listening as I talked to Father Edig.
Lord,
he asked nervously,
whose side are we on?
I laughed. I was born a Saxon but raised by Danes. My daughter had married a Norseman, my dearest friend was Irish, my woman was a Saxon, the mother of my children had been Danish, my gods were pagan, and my oath was sworn to Aethelflaed, a Christian. Whose side was I on?
All you need to know, boy, Finan growled, is that Lord Uhtred's side is the one that wins.
The rain was slushing down now, turning the drove path we followed into thick mud. The rain fell so hard I had to raise my voice to Edig.
You say the Mercians haven't invaded?
Not as far as we know, Lord.
Just West Saxons?
Seems so, Lord.
And that was strange.
Before Sigtryggr captured the throne in Uhtred, I had tried to persuade Aethelflaed to attack Northumbria. She had refused, saying she would not start a war unless her brother's troops were fighting alongside her men. And Edward of Wessex, her brother, had been adamant that she refuse. He insisted Northumbria could only be conquered by the combined armies of Wessex and Mercia, yet now he had marched alone. I knew there was a faction in the West Saxon court that insisted Wessex could conquer Northumbria without Mercian help, but Edward had always been more cautious. He wanted his sister's army alongside his own. I pressed Edig, but he was sure there had been no Mercian attack.
At least not when I left Uhtred, Lord.
It's just rumours, Finan said scornfully. Who knows what's happening? We'll get there and find it's nothing but a goddamn cattle raid.
Scouts,
Rorik said. I thought he meant that a handful of West Saxon scouts had been mistaken for an invasion, but instead he was pointing behind us, and I turned to see two of the horsemen watching us from a ridge. They were hard to see through the drenching rain, but they were unmistakable. The same small, fast horses, the same long spears. We had seen no scouts for a couple of days, but they were back now and following us. I spat.
Now my cousin knows we're leaving.
He'll be happy, Finan said.
They look like the men who ambushed us,
Father Edig said, staring at the distant scouts and making the sign of the cross.
There were 6 of them on fast horses and carrying spears.
Sigtryggr had sent the priest with an armed escort who had